Hello and welcome to another Beer Clipper video. This video is the build video which brings together my entry for the Tabletop Crafters United Discord Challenge with the theme of inspiration from a book, or at least that's how I took it, inspiration from another source. And for this build I went to Narnia. The main reason is that I love the books. I read them when I was young, I've read them many times, but it was the second books that I ever read to Rosie. So I read The Hobbit, and then we went Magician's Nephew, and then The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. Now, the scene I chose is from The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, and is where you have Edmund and the White Witch on one side, and you have Lucy with Mr Tumnus on the other, and it's a snow winter scene, obviously. And I had so much fun making this, and I really hope that you have fun watching the build video. I won't go on too much about this because I go through most of it in the video, so I won't talk much longer now, but I will say do pop a comment below if you've got anything to say, or you want to ask any questions, or just make any comments. I love reading them all and I do reply to them all, so don't be shy. And I really do hope that you enjoy this video, and I'll see you again at the end. So for my TCU build for the months of July and August, the theme is to reproduce or create a scene from a book. Now, probably everyone thought I'd do something from Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, which obviously is very, very tempting because I love Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit. But actually, and I'm not just doing this to be awkward and ornery and difficult and different, the theme and the idea that came immediately to my mind was the one that you'll maybe recognise here. I would really be interested actually if anyone does recognise it from just this scene. So if you do recognise it, please comment below now before watching on, and this is an honesty thing, and and I'll be very interested to see who recognises it. So I'll give you a second. Right, everyone commented? Good. So it's The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. We have the lamppost, and we have a sled, and we have currently a witch riding a broomstick, but I'm going to be able to clip that off and she will sit very nicely in said sled. And we've got Mr Tumnus, the tiny little fawn, to zoom right in if you'd rather see that. And this evening I'm going to be printing out two figures, one for Edmund and one for Lucy, because those are the only two that are going to be in this. And my concept is to kind of, it's not really a scene from the book as such, it's kind of just the difference between Lucy's experience of Narnia and Edmund's experience of Narnia. So the idea was that I'd have the lamppost pretty much dead central, and then on one side I'd have the Wicked Witch over here, and Edmund will be overstood by her, and on the other side I'd have Mr Tumnus, and I would have Lucy over there. So we will have lots of snow effects, which is why I really like to do it as well, because I bought a huge thing of snow for when I was doing my collaboration with Travis from the channel's gone for me, but anyway, when I was doing that collaboration it didn't arrive in time, so I got loads of that, lots of fir trees and pine trees, and I think it'll just be really, really cool. So that's the idea I've got. So there might be some footprints going off into two different directions, and they're going in their own way. I did print out a wardrobe, but I can't really work out how I'm going to do it and keep it not looking stupid, so I don't know whether I'll have the wardrobe in there or not, but anyway, so there we are, that's the plan. I'm starting to mock it out, as you can see, yeah, once I've worked out where things are going to go and how I'm going to do it, I'll bring you along and show you. Alright, so this is my research. I bought this from eBay, and these were the 2nd to 8th books that Rosie ever had read to her, because I read The Hobbit first. And I loved them. I had this box set when I was a child, and reading them to her was such a pleasure. My favourite is actually The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, as it happens, but The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe is absolutely iconic, and the scene with the snow and with the where they come through the back of the wardrobe is just so iconic. Of course, I had to do that as this diorama. The Dawn Treader is not quite as well known, and also, yeah, I want to do a winter scene, so I'm going back over that. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to have a quick read now as part of this, and just refresh my mind and make sure that I've got it all right. What my plan is, and this isn't going to, again, it's not going to marry up fully with the book, because I want it to, and it's not possible to, because I'm doing. I'm doing a combination. So I think that I'm going to have a ridge in the middle, which will be wooded with the, and I am going to have the wardrobe right at the back of the board, or the diorama. And then on one side, as it folds away on one side, we will have Mr Tumnus, and I've also reprinted these because I think they were just a bit too small before. So Mr Tumnus and Lucy on the one side, and then on the other side, which is just out of shot, and we zoom that back out, we have Edmund here, and I've already got the witch and her sled downstairs being painted, so that will be on the other side. Now I also printed out a load of these lampposts, and I'm not totally sure which one I'm going to use. It might very well be that, as I had a bit of a strange print failure. I obviously had an extrusion problem there. I think I might just stick with the original one, to be honest, because that is going to be the most prominent thing on the board. It would be nice to drill through it and have a light on it, but I'm not sure whether I'm going to achieve that. So what I'm going to do now is get my sketch done, and then start to build up the terrain and just the slopes and what have you with foam, and glue that down. So once I've got that planned, I'll bring you along. Bit of a wordy introduction to this part of the build, but yeah, it can't ever be a bad thing to pick these books up and read them. And yeah, I'll bring you along very shortly for this build. So yeah, there's the witch. So I need to get some reindeer. I need to find some reindeer and print them out. So there we are, onwards. Right then, I've got my white foam here, measured it out, finished doing my research, and I've cut it to the correct width for the entire shelf. And what I'm now going to do is make use of this awesome cutter with the sled, which is going to make sure I can keep a 90-degree angle, and I'm going to cut off the end. This is what I want to keep, this is what I want to lose. So yeah, let's see whether I can do this right. This is the first time I've used this attachment. I'll pop some music on because it does make a nasty clicking sound, and we'll see whether this works. There we are, I think that's worked. This is a really cool tool. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to make use of my gator glue to glue this down to the wooden board, and then when that's done I'll start shaping. So I'll just glue it down, weight it down, clump it, and then I'll bring you back for the shaping when I get to it. This is glued on nicely, so what I'm now going to do is carve in the rough shape of these two valleys, and I've drawn a rough shape here, but I might not leave it like that. But the idea is that it's going to rise up to the centre and then fall away in the corners, so roughly going to follow that. And I'm going to make use of my Hot Wire Foam Factory cutter, which I don't actually use very much, but it is pretty good for this sort of thing. I think I do have a tool like this in that expensive one that I bought, but I've not yet managed to work it out, and so yeah, I'm just gonna leave it for now. I'm too tired right now to learn new tools, too much going on. So what I'm going to do is stop this now filming, because I need to get a fan going and put a mask on because it's stinky, open some windows, and yeah, I will carve all that out and I'll bring you up when it's done. So that's carved out and I'm happy with the shape, and I've actually printed out some more things as well, which I'll show you. So on this side is going to be the White Witch, and here are the two reindeer that are drawing their sleigh, and you can see that they're going to be fine there. And then the sleigh here, and then Edmund here. So there's plenty of space on that side, and that's the one with far more of the miniatures on it than the other side. So that's good. So I'm pleased with that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to mix up some Luke's modelling compound, or Geek Gaming as he calls himself now, I still think of it as Luke's APS. So we're going to mix some of that up, and I'm just going to cover the whole of this with the modelling compound, and the reason for that is to finish it off and to give a good solid base on which I can then do my scenicking. And that's the bit that's the most interesting for me, because I'm going to make use of some new materials like the snow that I have yet to use from, I think it's Woodland Scenic snow I've got. I've had some very good reports on. So yes, I'll just get this done, probably take multiple mixes, and I'm just going to put a thin skim over the lot. So I won't film it all again, there's no point, but it's just going to be put it on and then smooth it out as thin as possible without it losing its coverage, and that will then go on nicely. So I'll get that done and I'll bring you along for the next step when I get to it, which probably now will be tomorrow. So the Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe build is coming on. You can see here that we have some reindeer, and I have Edmund, and I have the silver sled. And over on this side we have, that is the dwarf, which isn't yet painted. And at the back you can see there is the lamppost and the wardrobe. And in the box we have the witch, we have Lucy, and we have Mr Tumnus. So there's a little bit more painting to be done, but I am now going to start to actually lay out and prepare the terrain. So we will be having things like, we'll have quite a heavily forested area here around where everything's just set at the moment, around here, and probably coming all the way down here. So it'll be quite heavily forested, and then opening these two front corners. So there we are, a little bit of progress, well actually a lot of progress. I've been painting it in my 20 minutes, and yeah, I'm looking forward to getting cracking with the next stage. Right then, I was sat there and I just thought, no time like the present. Got a couple of minutes to do a little bit of hobbying. So what I'm going to do is I've mixed up some dark brown grout mix. There is a link in the description below to a video showing you how I go about making this. It works really, really nicely. So what I wanted was to have this built up in layers. So I am going to be putting down this texture which will work for soil, and then I'll put grass over it, and then over the top of that I'll put the snow, because yeah, I want it to actually have the layers, and anywhere where I miss, I don't want it to look odd. So I'm going to cover the entire piece with this grout mixture. And then when that's dried, which actually is quite quick, so probably when I next get time, which probably won't be quick, I'll come along and I'll start to build up the extra layers. I might not have mixed enough. If I haven't, I'll mix some more, but at the end of the day, it's a very quick application. You can see it goes on very quickly over the top of the entire model, and that will give it the dirt colour that I'm looking for, which is a nice rich colour, good quality soil. It's just winter because of the witch. So I'm starting to plan out the next stage of this, and as you can see, I've kind of put in place a couple of trees. They're just stood in at the moment because these ones actually have feet, which means they can stand up. But I do have a bag of other trees which I'm probably going to mix in as well. I'm going to make this quite a wooded view, so all of these trees won't be here, and they'll be mixed up with these style trees and maybe some other ones as well that I've got also. But anyway, so what I'm trying to work out is how I'm actually going to do the texture underneath. I've got static grass, so I've got some dead static grass, and I've got some autumn static grass as well, both 2 millimeters long. Oh, bonk, both 2 millimeters long, so nice and short. Obviously over the top of that I'm going to be putting this, the snow effects. And where you've got thick forest, I don't think you'd really have much grass, certainly not for a fir or for a pine forest. And what I'm thinking of using, which is awesome and I love it, is this pine forest ground cover from Geek Gaming as well. And this is a Geek Gaming build, as they all seem to go. So what I'm going to do is basically mark up roughly where the edges of the forest are going to be, have maybe a little bit of grass here and just a little patch of grass here, and the rest of it cover with the pine forest ground cover, and then plant the trees in after that. And that's what I think I'm going to do. So it's going to be largely pine forest ground cover, which is a little bit of an issue because I don't actually have all that much of it. So hopefully I've got enough and yeah, and the rest of it I'll do as dead static grass and autumn static grass. So I'll get that mocked up. I'll probably apply the pine forest ground cover first to see how much I've got. That will just be done using scenic paint and scatter. I'll probably bring you along for that when I get to it. And I might indeed glue in place the back of the wardrobe and the lamp post before doing that, I think, because I want them to be bedded in as well. So yeah, a little bit of progress. I'll hopefully get this done now, and yeah, I'll bring you along when I come to actually doing the scatter. Pretty happy with that, how that process went, and yeah, I've had to reattach a couple. That was done last night, and it's now the next morning, so I've had to reattach a couple. So I'll let them go off, and then I'll do the static grassing. But I thought I'd just put in place the reindeer and sled, just so you can see just how it's going to fit. And I think it's going to look really, really nice. I'm really looking forward to playing with the snow effects, which is after the static grass going to be next. But yeah, a very nice scattering of trees, really nice wooded effect, and I think it's going to really work to tell the story. So almost all of the figures are now painted and ready for this diorama. I do still have to do the dwarf, which is downstairs on my painting desk, because I keep forgetting. I'll try to remember to do it tonight. But what I need to do now is cut the White Witch off of her broomstick and stick her down onto her lovely silver sled. So I'm not sure how much of this I'm going to do on camera, because I think I need to be quite careful, particularly when I'm cutting around her hands. But fundamentally what I'm going to have is that. Now I'm going to need to cut more of her, more of this off, as you can see, otherwise it's not going to sit in nicely. But once that's been trimmed, that's going to look really, really good. I think it's going to be perfect. So I'm going to get in there now with the clippers and with a sharp knife, get that done, and then just get glued down with some super glue, and then yeah, that will be ready. And I will, as I say, hopefully get the dwarf painted up as well. And then then we're just onto the static grass and then the snow effects. So yeah, this is cracking on now. Okay, so the next step is the static grass. That's going to go here and here, and what I have is the Warworld Scenics Fast Tack Glue, which works really, really well in conjunction with the static glass applicator that I've got. And as I've said, what I'm going to do is a mix of autumn and dead, which I've got from Luke's APS, as was Now Geek Gaming. This shows you how long ago it was that I started buying his stuff. So what I'm going to do is pop some music on, and I'll apply this in these two little corridors here, which is where my miniatures are going to go, and then we'll leave that to dry, and then we'll be able to start looking at the actual snow effects, which is what I'm mostly excited about. So I'll get myself set up, pop some music on, and you can watch as I apply this static grass. So now we come to the bit that I've been looking forward to the most, which is putting the snow effects onto this. Now of course I do have to still work out how I'm going to do the light on top of that. I have some ideas but nothing that's really stuck yet, so I'm just leaving that for now. I'm going to move on to this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use finally the technique from this book, the Setting the Scene book by Pat Smith, which is really, really good. And it does have you using the Woodland Scenics Soft Flake Snow. Now in the past I've used the technique with baking soda, which has worked very well, and there's videos of that on the channel that you can find if you need to. But I wanted to give it a go with the more official method, if you want to call it that, and follow his instructions and just see how well it works. So the mix he suggests is 4 parts of the Woodland Scenics Soft Flake Snow, 2 parts of PVO glue, or Woodland Scenics Water Effects or Woodland Scenics Realistic Water, so just as bonding agents, and then 1 part water, and then you mix it together and paint it on. And then if you want to, you can then sprinkle more of the soft flake snow over the top to give it a bit more of a slushy kind of, or a bit more of a frosted effect, sorry, or a slushy effect. You could make it more watery and what have you. So there's various techniques, but I'm going to do certainly the first stage. I'm just going to mix up this 4 parts to 2 parts to 1 part and paint it on. So I'll get that mixing done, and then when I'm happy I'll bring it back and I'll show you how I'm applying it. And I've no idea how much to mix, so I'll probably mix too little at first, but that's fine. I'd rather do too little than too much. So I'm going to get this mix done and then I'll bring you back and we will have a look at what it looks like when I apply it. Okay, so that's been mixed, and I've got it to that kind of texture. I don't know how well that's going to be visible, but it's not sloppy, but it's not very thick or stiff either, so I don't know whether I've done that right or wrong. But what we're going to do is we're going to start painting it on and applying it to the base, and hopefully this is going to work, because if it doesn't then it's going to ruin everything. Now I am finding that my static grass may not actually be all that well stuck down, which is an issue. This feels very similar to the mix I had with the baking soda. I did hoover the static grass, but it doesn't seem to have adhered very well. It's a bit of an issue really. Not an issue with this, however, not an issue with the snow effect. So let me focus where it's actually adhered properly, which is the non-static grass area. Get that applied. What I might do is let this go off, and then we can have a look and see what it looks like once it's dried. So I didn't mix up a whole lot, as you can see, so I'm definitely going to need to do another mix. And there's definitely an issue here with the static grass not being great. Now another thing that I want to do, and I'm muttering a bit, but another thing that I want to do is actually get the sled and draw that through this before it's wet, so that I have the, yeah, this is very bad with the static grass. I might need to fix that. So I'm going to have to fix the static grass, so let's keep adding it over here. But what I'm going to do is, where I'm going to have the sled having drawn, I want to put the actual sled tracks in. So I need to do that as well. But it looks like I'm going to need to sort out this static grass before I can apply too much of this over the top. So we'll just carry on in the middle for now. It's going on nicely though, and I think it's going to look nice. So I'm going to get the rest of that done, stop muttering, and I'll bring you along for the next step when I work out how I'm going to fix this static grass and let you know how I'm doing it. I might just need to come along with the hoover again. Though as I say, I did apply a hoover. It just doesn't seem to have actually stuck very well, which is a bit of a shame. I might need to paint PVA over the top, watered down PVA to glue it all down before I can apply any more snow effects. But that is a very nice mix and looks really, really good. Might need to do 2 coats. Definitely need to sort my static grass. That's my first application done. Let's let that go off, and I'll come back when it's gone off, show you what it looks like, as I say, and also work out how I'm going to resolve this issue with the static grass, and I'll let you know that as well. So there we are. I'm going to need to mix up substantially more. So what I'm doing on this side is I first of all attempted to come along with a stiff brush and brush any loose static grass off, and that worked, but it wasn't actually picking that much up, because the reason why it was picking up before was because the brush was wet. So what I'm doing is I'm coming in with my scenic glue, which is very, very watered down PVA with a little bit of washing up liquid or dish soap, and I'm painting it all over. Now this is only going to work because I don't really care about there being verticality on the static grass. It's there for the colour rather than the 3D, because the 3D will be coming from the snow effect, but that will dry, clear, and then I can come back over the top and put some more of the snow effect on. So I'm going to do that on the other side as well. I'm going to leave this all to dry now. I will let it all to go off again and then come back tomorrow and we'll have a look and see what the snow effects look like after it's dried overnight, and also mix up a massive more batch and apply it over the whole lot. And then I'll probably do a second coat in a lot of places, because I want it to be deep in some places, shallow in the other. But yeah, at least I can bed this static grass down and not have it causing me a problem again on the next application. Okay, so I've left that overnight and it has dried very rock hard. It is a little bit green in places because of the bleed that's come through from the static grass that was loose. But now that I've bedded that static grass down and it is all now totally solid, nothing is coming up. And as you can see also, it's dried perfectly fine, so it doesn't have a white sheen to it. Let me just refocus a little bit. I'm at a nice low angle. Trying to be arty. I think it looks great. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up a load more of this paste, roughly the same texture, and I'm going to apply it all the way over everything, and then I'll leave that to dry, and then I'll probably come back and do a second coat, which I will apply mostly in the open areas, so around here and on the other side, and in between the trees, and maybe I'm going to even put some on top of the trees as well. So I'll bring you along for when I get to that stage. What I'm going to do now is just apply the paste and be done with it, but I'm not going to bother filming because it'll be the same as what you've already seen. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased, pretty happy. I think it does look nicer than doing it with the baking soda, but it's certainly far more expensive. But yeah, it does look nice. It's a shame about the green tint, but I'll cover that over with the second coat. So now we get to the next really fun bit of this build, and we're approaching the end of the snow application. And what I'm looking at doing now is applying snow actually to the trees. So what I'm doing is I'm just coming along with my brush and just lightly brushing it on. I don't want it to be too much snow on the trees, but every tree on here does need to have some coating. Now I am considering whether I do one side slightly more covered in snow than another, so that's like the prevailing winds, but I'm not sure that that's what I want to do, so I'm just going to do it evenly for now. It's not that easy actually. I have done a fair few already when I was using up the last batch of snow. I've just mixed some more up to film, so it's not massively easy, but with a little bit of delicacy, as you can see, you do get quite a nice effect. So I'm going to do that on all the trees now, and when that's done, anything left over I'll just put on around the place, and then we're pretty much ready to dress this build, which is exactly awesome because I am now just before my holiday and I wanted to get to this point before my holiday. So yeah, if I can get this done tonight, then I'm on track. The aim was to get this done bar the dressing of the miniatures, and I've done it. Before my holiday, I should say. So what we have here is where the witch is going to be sat with her in her little sled, and we have a couple of the two lovely reindeer which are going to be pulling and stood in front of there. So I could almost do this now, but I'm not going to because I don't want to rush it. But I've already put the footsteps in for them, and then we have Edmund, who is going to be stood in somewhere around here somehow, and we have the dwarf as well. So that's what's on this side. So the dwarf will probably be coming around the back of the of the sled. And then on the other side, we're going to have Mr Tumnus and Lucy. And they're going to be rocking and rolling down this little slope over here. So you can see we've got a little bit of a runnel. And this is where Lucy is going to be. Kind of stood down here. She's not going to stand up at the moment, need to glue her. And then dancing ahead over the snow is going to be Mr Tumnus. So that's how that'll be. So my target has been hit. I'm very pleased. I think it looks great. I've had some really nice compliments on it from the group on TCU. We've still got time to enter this. This competition is running until the end of September. I'm just rushing to get it done early because obviously I'm going on holiday. So I need to get it done because I'll lose a week out of this month. So yeah, I'm going to leave that now. When I come back, we will dress it, put the miniatures in place. I've got to put some red ribbons around these because that's what it says. They're towing it with red. And then I might do some more snow, but I'm not sure. I might touch up a couple of these trees that are a little bit bare, but we shall see. And of course, I need to put the top on the lamppost, so we shall do that as well. So yeah, good progress and nearly done. Okay, let's start positioning these miniatures on this display. So I'm going to start off with the witch on her sled. I'm just going to use super glue along the bottom of the runners and then hold it in place for a minute or so, because once this is in place everything else can be positioned around it. And there's a little lump which I took out when I placed when I dragged it across, and so I'm going to roughly match that up and let that to dry. So I'm probably just going to have to hold that for a minute or so just so that I can go off properly, just like that. So I don't want that tipping over. I want her to be like, I want it to be held down at the back rather than leaning forwards to the front. So I will probably pause the camera and then bring you back when this is set. So with that nicely secured, I'm now going to stick the other elements down over here. So we've got the reindeer here, and I am going to need to get the red ribbon and run it from around their necks or whatever back to the sled. But before I do that, I'm going to stick the dwarf on, and I'm also going to stick Edmund on. Now the dwarf is actually going to be, and I changed my mind on this, is actually going to be stood on the back here, and Edmund is going to be stood here, quite close actually to the to the sled. So I'll get those glued on. Again, take a minute or so just to kind of like get the glue to go off, and then once I've stuck those two on, I will move over to the other side with a very, well, not very smooth pan at all, and I will start to put the Lucy and Mr Tumnus. So Lucy and Mr Tumnus are, as I said before, going to be coming down this little path here that I've made. So Lucy is going to be stood at the end of the path, and Mr Tumnus is going to be kind of dancing over the top of the snow over here. So I'll glue those elements on and then bring you back to have a look at how I'm going to do the ribbon, and then this is pretty much going to be finished. I think I might do a little bit more snow. I might build some more snow up, particularly around where the sled is, and also there's some areas where the where it's bled through and it's green, and I do want to cover that over, so I might just do another application of snow as well, but it's pretty much there, I think. So what I'm looking at doing now is the harness for these reindeer, and I've just been looking at some pictures and I think I know I'm going to do it, but it's going to be fiddly, so I'm probably not going to film the actual process, certainly not for the first one, but I thought I'd show you what my plans are. So I've got the red ribbon, which I've cut to a length and then attempted to cut in half. Haven't been all that accurate cutting in half, but it'll be fine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this ribbon around the belly of each of the reindeer, like so, and then I'm also going to run a piece around the front chest back to the bit that I put around the belly. So those are the two things I'm going to do, and once that's done, then I will probably attach a piece here going back to the sled. So it is going to be a bit fiddly. I'm going to give it a go. I'm probably going to use super glue and super glue in the speeder upper thingy, so that will make it a little bit easier possibly, but I'll get it done at least on one, and if I can film the other one then I will, but if I can't, then if it's too fiddly then I won't bother, because there's no point in looking at my fingers getting in the way of the camera the whole time. But I'll show you what it looks like when it's finished, and then this is almost done, this build. Okay, so that was super fiddly, so I didn't film it. But here we have one of the reindeer with its lovely harness on. And I'm coming to the next and final step now, which is going to be actually attaching the reindeer and having them pulling the sled. So that is going to go like that. Let me just move the camera a little bit actually. That is going to go like that, which there's some footprints that I put in when I was putting the snow in. And then I'm going to have a little length of the split ribbon going from the back of the reindeer, which is here, and coming to just the side of the sled there. And I'll have that the same on both. So the first thing that I'll be looking at doing now, if I can juggle this, I'm struggling a little bit to hold these, they're a bit fiddly. But the next thing I'm going to do now is basically glue the ribbon in place like that, coming to the back, and then when that's dry I will then glue these in, and then when that's dry I will glue these to the pulling points, which we've got just down here with the bottom of the sled legs. So yeah, I'll get that done and show what it looks like when it's finished. So there we are, that's all glued together now, but unfortunately a little bit of a mistake, not a huge one, something that's quite easy to fix. The footing underneath these two reindeer is not quite perfect, particularly this far one was falling over and leaning on top of the near one. So what I've had to do is put a little bit more super glue just to hold it in place, and then slide the super glue tube in to kind of keep them upright. Once that's gone off, what I'll do is I'll mix up a little bit more of the snow mix, put it down underneath the feet so that that is obviously a little bit more supported. I'll probably also put some around the actual front of the sled as well, which is slightly above the ground, and then maybe if I have any left over I'll touch over a few other places, but that's just one of those things. It was always going to be that I might need to touch up with the snow, but once I've done that, then this is finished. I've got it done and I'm very happy with how it looks. I really like it. I'm looking forward to mounting this on the shelving unit, and I can walk past and smile at it every time I see it. So I'll mix up some more of the snow mix and put that where I said I was going to, over by the sled. And we're looking from the back at the moment because of how I was working on it. And then I have built up a little bit more snow just across the centre here, where it was looking a little bit green. There was quite a lot of the paint and the dye that had bled through, and I just wanted it to be a little bit kind of more pristine looking, and I'm using a paintbrush, but I'm also, as you can see here, just thought I'd show you how this works, I'm also actually using my fingers to spread this, and it works really well to do that. You get a really nice effect. Of course you also get filthy hands, but whatever, it's easy to wash up. It's only PVA and a little bit of glitter. So yeah, so I've done some time on that. I'm going to let that dry now and have a look at it again. I may add some more, I may not. I'm not fully decided yet. I want to see it when it's dry. I may add a little bit more around here, but for now, pretty happy with that, and it may be done indeed. So the Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe diorama is in place on my wall below, barrels at a bond, and then the stuff I did for Gaslands, and then on top my entry for the post-apocalyptic, easy for me to say, vehicle. So I'm pretty pleased with how that looks. I think it looks really nice in there. It's quite low to the ground. There's the ground, so Rosie's already seen it and touched it, so we'll see how long it lasts. But yeah, very happy to have got it done and to get it mounted in place. Well, there we are. It really was a fun build, and I learned so much. I had new techniques, particularly that snow technique, which I really enjoyed, and I've since used quite a bit, and I'm going to use quite a lot more. Probably in hindsight, I shouldn't have bothered putting so much effort into the texture below the snow. Because I was doing such a snowscape, I could have gotten away with just doing a grout and then nothing else. That wasted quite a lot of material and time. But hey, you live and learn, and I know that for future now. If I'm going to do something quite so wintry, don't bother doing underneath. If you're going to have the little areas where it's scraped away, maybe do something there, but the rest of it, just leave it. Other than that, pretty pleased with it, and it was a really good challenge full of great entries, and I didn't win, but I don't care because I'm very pleased with how it looked and I love how it came out. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Have you done wintry terrain? Let me know if you like my technique, if you do anything differently. I do love to hear all the comments, and I do reply to all of them, so don't be shy. And if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching this video and watching it all. And I will close off by saying, as I always do, please stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.